Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 144. And I gotta say, man, before I get into the episode review, I definitely gotta talk about the retcon that was made to the history and lore of Hozuki Castle. And I gotta say, I'm not actually annoyed at it. You know, not all retcons are bad. And I get this question a lot when I start talking about retcons, which is a lot of you guys ask me, what is a retcon? So essentially that is retroactive continuity. That's where an author, or in this case a team of writers, look at the lore in the series, look at stuff that's been established, and then they go back and change it in order to fit the narrative of what they're telling now. So essentially the retcon that we got is you have two sets of Hozuki castles. So you have Hozuki Castle number 1, which appears to be where Boruto and his team are, which is basically for petty offenses. So that makes sense. That makes sense, especially given everything we found out about Kokuri, how this guy was an accountant and basically got arrested for aggravated robbery. So I mean, this makes sense that you have these types of people here, whereas in Hozuki Castle number 2, that's where all of the Mujina Bandits are. But this is what's interesting though. If Hozuki Castle is for aggravated offenses, then why is the number 2 person of Hozuki Castle in Hozuki Castle number 1, unless he purposely committed a petty offense, and that's why he's in Hozuki Castle? But because the guy likely has some type of a track record, is that why he's in the cell? That's something I feel like they have to address at some point. But as it stands right now, the fact that the guy's in solitary, that's enough to imply that there's something else going on with the guy. So I thought that that was interesting, just seeing that bit of a retcon there. Again, it's not a bad retcon because that's not something that we knew, and it's adding to the world building. So I'm okay with that right there. So what I will say is that I like the whole thing with the game of chess that you got between Benga and Tsukiyo, where Benga and Tsukiyo are making their moves behind the scenes, and then you have Boruto basically trying to outmaneuver them without realizing who the other player on the board is. So I thought that this was interesting to see the bit of gamesmanship between the two, and I like how you get this moment where Tsukiyo's like, yo, I'll give you all of the riches this guy stole from him, so I just need you to basically get him sent to Hozuki Castle number 2 where all my underlings are, and they can take care of him. And what I like in the following interaction is how Boruto sticks up for Kokuri and says, look, hey, we're just friends, I don't know anything about him. And the thing is, it's like Benga, I thought this dude's just a fat, greedy, not too sharp guy, thinks he's smarter than everybody else. And it actually turns out that the dude is actually really perceptive, because once he starts interrogating Boruto's cellmate, he picks up on all the small things that this dude does when he's lying, like how his nostrils flare. So in that moment, he probably picked up on the fact that Boruto's lying, but he wasn't necessarily sure, because Boruto, being a ninja, can probably hide some of that stuff. And what I also like is how when they're having the conversation in Benga's office, how Boruto's cellmate, as he's talking, you know, all of a sudden Benga's like, look, like, I caught you in a lie. Like, if you don't help me out, your sister, she needs that money for an operation, right? I need you to turn into a snitch for me. I need you to turn into Dre from Power for me for a second, all right? I need you to rat on everybody. And what's so crazy is, like, he's using his sister's operation as a way to get this guy to cooperate. So it's one of the lowest things you can do, okay? Because like when I saw the episode spoiler for this, right, I was like, man, this dude is a rat. And it ain't necessarily that. It ain't necessarily this dude turned rat, but it's more so the fact that, you know, he's acting to protect the image of himself that his sister has, and he also wants to make sure she gets money for the operation. Little does he know that Kokuri actually took the money from the Mujina Bandits and just pulled a Robin Hood type move where he donated the money to the poor, or in this case, he donated the money to, ironically, a medical facility for children. Where have I heard something like that? A medical facility for children that specializes in children's treatment and health, and a facility that is underfunded in some countries. I could have swore there was somebody in the Naruto universe that did something like that. What I will say is that I thought that that was actually a pretty nice plot twist when it comes to Kokuri, in the fact that this dude, if he's telling the truth, which I think that he is, if this guy's telling the truth, then essentially this guy was the accountant for the Mujina Bandits. He wasn't even like on the low end of the totem pole. Technically, he wasn't even a member of the crew. He was just the bean counter. Basically does the taxes, and it's one of those times where the dude, as he's looking over everything, he put everything together and he got a little too smart for his own good. So I thought that that was interesting, and I like the realistic aspect that they did with the character, where it's one of those times where if you were in a situation like that, you would have one of three options. You'd either report it to the police, or you would try to get the hell out of there, or if you're one of those things where you just sit there and stay and just continue to take the money. What I found interesting about this, okay, is that, you know, we see his reaction to the unpleasant news. And then what we also see is how he takes the money and decides, well, it's already stolen money. I want it to go for good. Now, this is one of those times where, you know, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more into Kokuri's personal life before we got to that moment. I would have liked to see him actually struggle a little bit with what to do now that he knows that he's working for the Mujina Bandits. I would have liked to have actually seen that before we got to the part where he donated the money. You know, it's just one of those times like it's more of a payoff thing. I'm okay with it how they execute it. I just feel like it could have maximized payoff if they did it a little differently. Now, what I will also say is I like the whole thing of how they hid the reveal of Sarada placing this dude on a genjutsu when Boruto's testing him, because I like seeing this area of Sarada. I've said multiple times that I would like to see Sarada progress into more of an Itachi Uchiha type character where she uses a lot more genjutsu and she uses it before actually going into the battle portion. So I thought that that was interesting that we actually saw this with Sarada, and I like the little sequence of events where they broke down how everything happened. I thought that that was cool. Again, that kind of gave me like the vibes of early part 1 of Naruto, where, you know, after they, you know, pulled off some huge trickery, they kind of broke it down for you in a very quick manner. I thought that that was interesting. They kind of went that route, but the whole idea of basically making Kokuri show that he's actually on the good side and getting his backstory, I thought that that was a way to try and make the viewer get to a point where they sympathize with the character. That way, when the things that happen later on the arc take place, you have that moment where you start rooting for the character of Kokuri. Because I know for me, I wasn't invested in the character before this episode. And the fact that we're approaching the climax of the first act, this is one of those times where you have to want Kokuri to get out of Hozuki Castle, and I think that they established that in this episode here. Now, what I will say is that I like the idea of Naruto continuing to keep tabs on what's going on in Hozuki Castle, and essentially you have that moment where Kokuri's about to be released from the prison, and you have that scene where Mujo is just ripping into Benga. He's finally showing some type of a backbone and standing by his decisions, and he's telling Benga, like, look, you know, you've been acting out of your place. You've been extending sentences. You've been putting people unjustifiably in solitary. The hidden grass village is going to be taking care of you. You're no longer going to be working here. You might as well get this out of your head. And for a character like Benga, who gets off on pushing people around, gets off on being an authority figure and abusing that power, I thought that that was interesting to see his thumb screw come apart at that point. But what's so crazy is like the fact that, you know, you get this moment where just before this happens, Boruto's cellmate gets the hell beat out of him. He's laying in a pool of his own blood, and it's because he wouldn't give up Boruto. And I'm like, yo, this dude went from being a rat to, you know, actually being G-Squad right there. I thought that that was cool, man. I thought that that was interesting that, you know, the dude held up for it. And when he goes into the cell, he's like, look, you know, baby sister, if you find out about this, I didn't fight off some rogue ninja. I didn't have any type of honor before this, but I can damn sure say I didn't turn on the dude that donated the money that made your surgery possible. So I thought that was cool as hell right there. I thought that was cool as hell. Again, we're finally seeing some stuff that's making you feel invested in these characters. Like, that was my big problem with the Raymond arc, okay, or the Lemon arc. That was one of the big problems I had, which is basically I didn't feel invested in none of those characters. I didn't care. Like, I almost felt invested. I mean, Konohamaru was so fucking boring that she basically had to erase Konohamaru from the memories because Konohamaru wasn't putting that right stroke down on her. Oh man, but yo, on the serious note, like, Benga, this dude is so dirty. Yo. When this dude takes the pills when Mujo's having that heart attack, he's like, yo, what was you saying again? Huh? What was you saying, motherfucker? Is you okay with this shit? You was gonna do what to who? Yeah, that's what I thought, bitch. Like, yo, he just so dirty every time he come on the screen. I just get the need to just take a shower and clean myself because this dude just so grimy. Yo, this dude right here, that's some slimy ass shit right there, but I totally love it because it's completely in character for him. They've now for me established Benga as a character where I can't wait for Boruto just punch this dude in the face. I can't wait for this one, man. I can't wait for Benga or Tsukiyo to just get hammered in. Like, I'm waiting for that moment, and I like how when Benga is, letting everybody know that he's the new warden of Hozuki Castle. Everybody's like, oh my god, it can't be you. So I thought that was cool that, again, we see the prisoner reactions and we see the guards just fall lock and step with them where, somebody get out of line, they getting smacked with a club. Like, this is what I wanted to see. This is the type of prison I wanted to see, man, where Benga's like, you asked me a question, I should punch your ass in the face. Yo, this is the type of shit I wanted to see, man. This is when I found out that they're doing Hozuki Castle and they're building on what was mentioned in the Boruto manga, because for those of you, I keep getting this question a lot, why are we in Hozuki Castle? That was never mentioned in the manga. Yes, Hozuki Castle was brought up in the Boruto manga during this arc, so I like that we're actually seeing something closer to the blood prison that we actually saw in the movie, where when people got out of line, they got their teeth knocked in. So this is interesting, and Boruto takes one look at this shit and he's like, they're gonna take him to Hozuki Castle #2. We gotta get out of here. And so the next episode is gonna be the jailbreak episode. Like, I'm loving this right here, man. But my episode question to you guys is gonna be between Boruto's two cellmates, okay? So between the dude with the younger sister and between Kokuri, which of these characters was more sympathetic in your opinion? Which one is you feel more for? Let me know who and why down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching on to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.